You're listening to the DisneyVerse Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our debut edition of the DisneyVerse Podcast. My name is Michael, and thank you so very much for joining us here today on the first episode of the soon-to-be award-winning, Facebook-winning, anything that considers yourself with a Disney expert. We're going to win that award. Hello, ladies. I hear you guys are coming in the Skype. How you all doing tonight?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Hello.
Awesome. All right, so let's start introducing ourselves. Again, my name is Michael. I'm your host with the most. I'm also white, and I'm 40, so I don't know why I said that. Join us here on the program is Rain. Rain, say hello.
Hello.
Next on the show is Patricia.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Next one we have is Michelle.
Hi.
And we also have Miss Vicky on the program today.
Hello, all you Disney fans.
And last but not least, we have Miss Terry.
Disney is life.
Disney is life. Word up. Well, folks, these are going to be the usual suspects you'll have on the program. Every now and then we may be coming and going. Like next week, we'll have a couple people not on the program. So in the meantime, you're going to hear from us throughout the show and everything that's about us. But, you know, the most important thing here is we're big Disney fans. Guys, would you agree that we're huge Disney fans? I mean, sort of Disney fans?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought so. Yeah, I know.
No question.
I mean, I thought this was a Pokemon Go chat forum we're on here. So, but
Oh, God.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Not today.
I mean,
we all have multiple fandoms. I mean, hey, if you
We
want me
don't
to plug
discriminate.
stuff,
but if you're a Pokemon Go fan, you absolutely have no life, and you know, Pokemon Go for like
three of us,
town.
geez, three of us are Pokemon Go fans. Watch it.
Okay, I'm watching it. I'm watching it. Anyway, folks, this is one of our big fandoms. This is particularly my biggest fandom is Disney. With anything considered with Disney, you have your Disney amusement parks, you have your Disney rides, you have your Disney foods, you have your Disney clothing, you have everything that's associated with Disney and all the companies they have purchased in the last 12 months. So, nonetheless, that's what the show is going to be about today. We also do have some Disney news that popped up a couple of days ago to yesterday, so we'll get into that in just a moment. But today's focus and episode is about Disney fandoms, particularly our Disney fandom here, episode 1 of the DisneyVerse Podcast. By the way, folks, as you see on the left-hand side of your screen, there is a couple ways to get in touch with the program. You can first hit us up via our Facebook page, facebook.com/DisneyVerse. Again, facebook.com/DisneyVerse, excuse me, I have a cut in my mouth. You also can hit us up via Twitter at DisneyVersePod. Again, DisneyVersePod. You can hit us up via Twitter. And, of course, if you like to email the program, DisneyVersePodcast@gmail.com is the best way to get in touch with the program, whether if you have any questions on the show or if you'd like to be a guest host of you as well. Hello, Jonathan from New Mexico. How's it going, buddy? It's good to hear from you. So I guess we'll start with Miss Patricia. Miss Patricia, we've talked many of times about Disney stuff in general, but what would you say what started your era in regards to being just a Disney geek?
Oh.
And we do have a time frame. Okay, just kidding.
Okay. Well,
Just
I
kidding.
was 3 months old the first time I went to Disneyland, so I started very early. And my parents were massive Disney freaks. Actually, my mom still is. She went the second week Disneyland was open. So I think it's genetic by now.
It's a hereditary thing. It's not something that you just
Yeah.
absorb. I gotcha.
And we just got raised on everything Disney, all the movies, and we lived near Disneyland, so we went a lot, and that's where it all started.
Did you ever, when you talk about Disneyland, did you ever go into the Disneyland hotel when a lot of that stuff was free? You can go in there and you can kind of explore around the facility there.
I never really did personally. I know my mom did because my grandpa always wanted to go over there to go to the bar to get a beer. So they would have to wander around a little bit while he had his beer before they got back on the monorail to go back to the park.
Yes.
She never really liked that park because, what little kid wants to hang around there when they know Disneyland's over there?
Exactly. See, I'm always that kind of person where I like to get there early, and then you stay till it's super late. But I've realized, And of course, as I'm not down there right now, I can say this firsthand that more than likely I'll change my mind. But more than likely, as you get older, you're kind of like, okay, I just want to kind of chill, relax, not do too much, But then when you get there, you just want to start riding all the rides. You can feel the adrenaline and everything. So it's a pretty cool experience to, when you see Disney in front of you. It's just incredible.
Absolutely.
Miss Terry, how you doing?
Doing great.
So, Terry, you not just are a obsessed Disney fan. You actually, before we get into your fandoms, you actually make Disney ears. Is that correct?
I do. I have added Disney in basically every facet of my life, including how I make a living. I have an Etsy shop that sells ears, and I also do cakes for a living. And yeah, I kind of copyright infringe Disney all the time.
Well, that's okay. As you heard on the intro, we did not want to do anything. I had this huge, long, not really a video package.
Terry
but
has
just
no
kind of-
last name.
Well, Terry and Michelle actually will be on the program. We're actually going to have an episode strictly on being creative with Disney products. So we're going to have Terry and Michelle. They're actually very creative in regards to selling Disney product. One is licensed and one is not. But no, I'm just kidding. but there's a lot of hard work.
I will attest to that.
No, but see, and that's the thing too, and that's something we can get into on another episode. But that will be something we will discuss. Why people are just so obsessed with wearing everything Disney? Because I know me and Terry were talking earlier in the week about, okay, I want something unique. Do you have a Star Wars hat? So, I mean, I'm trying to be unique about that. But see, you don't just get the same hat over and over again. But so, what would be your start of this whole obsession with Disney?
Again, like Patricia, mine I think is genetic. I remember my grandparents on my dad's side. My grandma had Mickey Mouse everything in her house. She loved Disney. I came home from the hospital wearing Mickey Mouse onesie, and then I became the biggest Disney fanatic in a family of Disney fanatics. The clothes, the parks, the movies. I have several Disney tattoos. It's everything. Everything. My entire life revolves around Disney.
Well, and your work puts into it, because I've seen your work through Etsy, and of course at some vendor shops here locally when they have fairs and cons and things. You really, with your ears and stuff, you really put that passion, just like with your fandom of Disney.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it a little bit too much.
A little bit too much.
Ask
Well,
me for advice. You might get way too much advice, as with any of us, I'm sure. We can't shut up.
I just hope you haven't gone to any Disney cruises or anything like that, especially for a marriage or anything. I mean, who would do that anyway? Who would do something like that?
Okay, yes. I did get married on a Disney cruise as well, and had Mickey come to the reception. Those are some of my favorite pictures of our wedding. Yes, I had Mickey Mouse in my wedding pictures.
Was he like the drunk uncle? It's like, you look really cute over there.
He's way better than a drunk uncle.
Yeah.
I will just say that.
Gotcha. Michelle, how you doing, Michelle?
Hey, it's my turn. Hey.
Yeah. Anyway,
Hello.
we just wanted to make sure you're there. We'll go to you later. All right. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, Michelle, what started your passion with Disney, and how is it, and how has it gone into in your later life?
Okay, well, basically, I wouldn't say my mom or dad were Disney fanatics, but at a very early age, I'm guessing around 2 or 3, there used to be the Mickey Mouse Club. And I had a little wicker chair that I would sit in front of our little old TV, and I would watch the Mickey Mouse Club with my ears. And then they came out with the Disney's Wonderful World every Sunday night. So I was all obsessed with Disney. I have my original membership certificate framed upstairs with my name on it to the Mickey Mouse Club. And that was my initial introduction to Disney. And I love Disney more than my mom or my dad. So that's kind of where it started. And then it just kind of escalated from there. My mom finally took me to Disneyland when I was 13. And there was pretty much no going back from that point. It was like the 30th anniversary that year.
Now,
that was my first time at Disneyland.
Now, speaking of the Mickey Mouse Club, there are some younger audiences out there that may not know what the Mickey Mouse Club is. Tell us a little bit about that.
Don't they still have that on TV? I thought they did.
I
know,
haven't
our daughter doesn't.
seen that. I mean, it might be old reruns. I know the Disney app
I think
actually
at least
does that.
I think at least people know where Justin Timberlake came from, Britney Spears, from the older, the newer introduction of the Mickey Mouse Club and the Mickey Kids. But the Mickey Mouse Club started in the 50s when my mom was a kid, when TV was really new. And of course, there was Annette Funicello and all that stuff. You've seen different movies. There's always references here and there to Annette. And things like The Shaggy Dog. Those are movies that came out. The Mickey Mouse Club, though, was basically started out with a cast of kids and the leaders, and they would just introduce everybody, and they would, do skits and musical numbers, more musical numbers in the later years. Kind of like it was a kid show for sure. Definitely a kid show. More of a younger show when I was younger, like geared towards a younger audience, more towards a pre-teen audience, I think, in the later inceptions where like Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, all them came out of that one. That one was when I was in high school. And I did not watch that one. Just to put that out there.
And a lot of people may not know that Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera got their start on the Mickey Mouse Club.
Don't forget Ryan Gosling.
Right. Oh my
Ryan
goodness.
I mean, the list of Disney kids that started on these shows are,
hold on. Let's stop the show.
For those of you who are really old, Facts of Life, like me, I'm old.
Facts of Life.
One of the
Lisa
Facts of Life, the one who used to play Blair was a Disney kid, was a Mickey Mouse Club kid. So Disney is definitely the machine that still churns out the stars. I mean, of course, we get people. We've also got like Lindsay Lohan.
I don't know about that. I don't know if you want to start linking Lindsay Lohan.
Take credit for that one.
Talking about drunk
Selena Gomez,
uncle.
Demi Lovato.
More recently, Demi Lovato.
Yeah, Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato. Those are ones.
Yeah, those are all Disney kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're still churning out stars. And as we saw at the Super Bowl, Justin Timberlake didn't do too bad.
Yeah. And it's
in
funny.
His career going forward.
Oh yeah, I mean he headlined the Super Bowl halftime show. I mean, hello. It's funny when you bring up.
Lindsay Lohan was pretty good though. She had some good movies.
Well, yeah, and then she was in a good movie, and then yeah, exactly. It's funny thing about Disney in general, and so far, just kind of when you were saying about that, television really made Disney into this whole different level. And there was a lot of animated features that were out there, but it was just something about Disney when they had their feature films out there. Snow White, you had Peter Pan. These things were just out of the ordinary, just different from what you saw in the regular movie theaters. Oh
yeah, they definitely advertised to us young. I mean, this was the 70s when I started, so. The Wonderful World, Disney's Wonderful World, they had the movies and the cartoons. Like that's where I first met Goofy, and different cartoons like that. And movies. My first movie was Bambi. In the theater.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's not bring up Rain
I'm so
with that.
sorry.
I know.
We're not going to bring that up.
It's still a good movie. I mean, don't forget Thumper and Twitter Pated and all that fun stuff. So, we don't think about the sad part.
First thing you walk through the Disney, you're not thinking about that horrible Bambi movie.
I still say people who are in love are Twitter Pated. So,
you don't.
That's where that comes from.
But, if you recall, we actually did have a discussion about a year ago. We were actually on another show called the Great Basic Geeks Podcast, and we actually had an episode about Disney. And I believe me and Rain had a little part early in the episode. The audio is not working on it, but basically there was that moment where Rain would be talking about, you don't think about that horrible Bambi movie when the mother died. You think about the whole experience about being in Disneyland. You forget about your worries. And then I say, what? So
by the way, I don't think we've introduced everybody yet.
We have introduced the people here on the show. We're going through more people on the episode here.
Yeah.
All right. So I know.
We met Rain.
I know we have. Well, we still also have Rain and Vicky. So I was going to go to Rain next. So Miss Rain, I guess Michelle's the host now. So that's fine. Rain, how you doing?
I'm just keeping you on track. It's all good.
Okay. Anyway, Rain, how you doing?
It's easy to get lost.
Did Rain, you there?
We lost her.
We lost her. Well, that's okay. We'll go back to Rain. She's coming up with the best answer of all, so we'll embarrass her when she comes back. All right, let's go to Vicky. Vicky, how's it going?
Hey.
All right, so if you ever see Vicky on her Facebook page, you would notice that it seems like she has apparently she's moved into the Walt Firehouse guest house that's on top there. So okay, I dare to ask you the second part of my question, but the first part should be easy. When did you start liking Disney, and how many times have you been to Disney Park?
Oh, well, as a family, while my dad was in Vietnam, we all went to Disney World when it opened because we were stationed in Fort Benning, Georgia. And when we lived on that side of the country, we went several times. As a matter of fact, I was just flipping through some of my photo albums and looking at all the things we did when I was a kid and the number of times we went. And it was great because they had military discounts back then. From day one, they had military discounts. And as my parents kept having children, we could actually afford to go because there was always a military discount. And they still have a fabulous one to this day.
Yes, they do.
And I fell in love with the parks. And back then, Disney World was the Magic Kingdom. That was it. There was nothing else there. And you literally would park in front, camp out, go into the park, play at Buena Vista Park, and just it was like the best park you'd ever been to in your life. And then it had these really cool rides. And I got to do Space Mountain before they had height restrictions, and fell in love with roller coasters after that. It's all my dad's fault. And actually, it's really funny because my love of Disney goes back to my father, whose middle name is Michael, and he was called Mickey because his dad was Joseph, his grandpa was Joseph, he was Joseph. So his nickname was Mickey. Now, I did not find out until 2 years ago. He actually hated that nickname. So for almost 50 years, I have thought that man loved being called Mickey Mouse, and everyone gave him Mickey Mouse stuff, which always came to me. And and I got very addicted after that. And so anything Disney, I just really enjoyed. And right now in the background on my TV, I have Robin Hood from 1973 playing because it was one of my favorites with one of my middle sisters growing up. And I just love having it on. It just makes me feel warm and cozy inside.
It's that Disney magic that's flowing through you.
It is.
It really is.
I mean, come on, who else could do this?
Well, us, but
It's okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, we can. I mean, hello, it's not a problem. So
the number of times I've been to a Disney park, I believe I'm on 25 now, but I went several years because I was military where we were nowhere near a Disney park. And, you kind of went where the rest of the family went.
Right.
And then I lived in Hawaii for several years, and that's nowhere near a Disney park until now.
Right.
And
I think so.
But when my son turned 5, back in 2001, we decided to go, and then we tried to go every other year, and now we've been annual pass holders for the last 4 years. And we go 2 to 4 times a year, depending on how much side job money I can get.
So basically, you're robbing Peter Crew to pay Paul, pretty much. Would you be like
Yes.
would you be like a reverse Robin Hood in that regard?
Yes.
Okay. Just
Well, I'd
making
like to point out I am paying for him to still go to college.
Oh, well, in that case.
So that's why we only go we go less than we were. But good news, he's a senior. We're almost done.
Oh, okay.
Then I can go to Disneyland more.
You can always just say the first year you can have, that you'll be able to pay for college, but after that, hey, Disney or my kid's education, what comes first? I mean, hello, my kid can
It
pay.
was a tough one.
My kid
It
can
was so
learn for
tough.
3 years, so that's awesome. I love to hear
He
that.
works a couple of jobs, so it's okay.
That's fine. Hey, Rain, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, what happened?
I have no idea.
Oh, well, you're honest.
Skype tends to do that where it likes to drop the most colorful person, I guess.
Well, I would have been.
well.
I would have been off years ago. I know. This call will not be working if all this stuff. Mic drop. All right. So, Rain, what is your I guess what brings you to the table? What brings you to the Council of Disney people?
I'm kind of on the quote unquote younger spectrum of the Disney fanatics and fandom, as my Disney experience began not with the actual Disney movies or actual Disneyland, but actually with the Disneyland video, or not Disneyland, Disney video games.
Oh.
My Disney story starts in 1996 when my mom allowed me to play a video game, and it was for the I believe it was the Super Nintendo at the time, and it was Disney's Toy Story. And that game to this day haunts me, as there are 2 levels in that entire thing that were impossible to beat. But just the determination of wanting to complete the level, and just the love of like the artwork in, a 1996 video game was astounding to me. Following through the stories, Toy Story, the game, actually got me interested in wanting to watch the cartoons, wanting to, at a very young age, to go back and watch, movies from the 1940s of the Disney era, and back into Swiss Family Robinson and 30,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or sorry, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
It should be 80,000 the way it seems like. I mean, 20 is not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. What's another 60 more? Come on now.
Yeah, no squid can live at 20,000. Everybody knows that.
Exactly. So yours is really more of not necessarily the parks, how it started for you, but it's more of the reach of Disney on more than just putting a Disney logo on your shirt. It came through a video game.
Right. Because back then it was a lot cheaper to get a video game than it was to get a ticket for my generation. My mom would work a lot. So without being able to give me the full Disney experience as, a young kid, she gave me, the movies, the gaming. And so I was still experiencing a bunch of what other kids were experiencing until, I got a little older and I could do everything in Disney that I could remember. The twirly teacups of vomit and doom. And
the teacups of doom.
I love the teacups of doom.
The teacups of doom.
I cannot do those damn teacups.
All right, so
really friendly vultures in Splash Mountain.
So if we ever broadcast live from Disneyland Park, if we get big enough and we go live Disneyland Park, we are going to do a phone YouTube live thing where we're all going to go on the teacups of doom and we're all going to throw up on it. It'd be great.
Wait, if we're doing a podcast live from Disneyland, that would require us stopping and not riding rides, or just riding rides?
Oh, we have a subscriber. Hold on. We have Patricia Helm. Patricia, you just subscribed to the DisneyVerse Podcast. Of course, as a reminder, anytime you do subscribe or donate to the show, your name and your message will be heard live on YouTube. So thank you so much, Patricia, for subscribing to the DisneyVerse Podcast.
Wait, what just happened?
Okay, so
you
anytime you see, this is one of those little things. You have a subscriber, but anytime you have a subscription, or if you wanted to do a donation, there's a click on. You first of all hit the subscribe button on the little bottom of the YouTube page, or if you follow the links, if you want to send us a donation, so if we can keep the podcast going and keeping it free for everybody, just make sure you put a nice little message on there, and that message will be shown live on YouTube. So with Patricia's subscription, her little message popped up right on YouTube, so it's kind of cool. That's what we do. So we're talking about the teacups of doom. That's great. So what
do you remember they used to be a lot easier to spin? Seemed like when I was a kid, they weren't as hard as they are now. And I think
is it the teacups or is it us?
I don't know. It's just because we were younger and stronger, and now we're old and weak.
Yeah, I know my
or is it because Disney doesn't want to clean up the vomit from?
Oh, it's the vomit.
Uncontrollable spinning.
I mean, it's the vomit.
It's a little both, but you're also back then. You're so little, so like a small tilt could send you flying out of the cup.
That is true.
Do you think they deliberately?
Yeah, but that's fun.
Well, hold on. Do you think they deliberately have it more difficult to turn just so that people don't throw up or they don't get too sick or what have you?
I think so.
Because they
Because I
I
remember,
would think so.
I remember my dad get that thing going so fast that like you're trying to lean forward into that centrifugal force, and then nope, you always lose it. You just fly backwards, hit your head in the back of the cup.
Me
I
too.
think
One of
it
my
evens out.
favorite photos is my dad is in the teacups and he's spinning it and he's laughing at my face. And it is like one of the best pictures of us on the teacups because we always had the teacups that actually want to spin with half the family and the teacups that didn't really want to spin, which was like my mom and sister. So she was taking a picture of our teacup, which is me and my dad and brother who do want to spin. And it's an amazing photo.
See, another thing is we were smaller, so that force to move us back was also probably a lot less than it was required now. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've gotten my daughter to pretty much lean into me on a teacup ride or two. And as she
Yeah,
gets
on
bigger,
that
it's hard
note,
to do.
the teacups were a lot bigger when I was a kid. At least it felt like it. I felt like a sugar cube in it.
It's really a shame that you guys are totally missing out on what I'm playing right now.
Okay.
You're just gonna have to go back to the previous on demand. I'm basically playing the teacup music the whole time you guys are talking about this.
Yeah,
Anyway, just thought it was
Skype's
pretty
messing
funny.
with you.
I know. So
Skype is cutting you out.
basically, what it sounds like is that our love for Disney pretty much was consisting of a couple things. It was first about being at the park, but it was also about just the entertainment value of it. Wouldn't you guys think that?
Yes.
Yes.
There was a
Yeah.
culture to Disney on Sunday nights and going to the movies to see them. And when you were lucky enough to go to the parks to see it, there was just something magical that they found to carry it all the way through.
What do you think about that, Rain?
And they still do that because I mean, when I went to Florida and I didn't go to Disney World because a certain podcast host was not with me and I was nice. I didn't go to Disney World alone. I did go to,
She could have.
I did
I
go
totally
to
let her
the-
do
I
it.
know
She's-
that,
I
that
still
my
think you were wrong
husband would
for
be
that.
stuck. Yeah.
So I've never been to Disney World, even though I've been very close. But just the shopping mall itself was magical. Just being
Disney
in Disney Springs itself was an event for me. I spent literally every day I wasn't in meetings. I spent every day at Disney Springs. I was there every day. I took that
Yeah.
bus from our hotel, and it was great. I was by myself. I was doing my own thing. I did do some Pokemon hunting while I was there, but I also did a lot of shopping. Watched a couple of shows. I mean, they had free stage performances. Saw the largest Disney store in the world was amazing.
Oh.
I mean, I almost
love
felt
that
like
store.
I'm
It
pretty
was
sure
alright.
it teared up when I walked inside,
It was okay.
and you
It
could
wasn't
just
that
walk
big.
forever. It was,
It was okay.
It's not the size of the store; it's
It
how
was
much goofy stuff's in
okay.
it.
you know, he's just unhappy because my hotel had free order delivery from anything you purchased at the store.
Oh,
See, now
yes.
that does help.
Yeah.
That
Anything
absolutely
you
does help.
bought, you could send back to the hotel and not
Yeah.
have to carry it around. There was no visual representation of how much money you'd
But
spent.
exactly,
That's how you get in
And-
trouble.
Yeah.
that's how you get in trouble.
And,
It's like
I-
being on a cruise because the cruises you can do that too. If you ever purchase something,
Yeah,
they
that's
can just
true.
hold it and they can send it up there. But
no cash.
the
There's
no cash, yeah, exactly. But
And-
that's
And
that's
I
usually
had a brand new Disney card with me with a zero
yeah,
balance
that's-
when I got there. So
and
And it wasn't when you left.
so yeah, and so I'm taking donations tonight. We're doing a fundraiser, folks. This is the help Mike pay off his Chase Disney card that I hadn't spent hardly anything on. No,
our Disney card.
anyway, so
Our
I
Disney
think I'm going to put you on mute. Anyway, I think when you talk about the whole, I mean, just kidding, but seriously, Michelle was talking about the whole Disney Springs part, Disney. There are some elements of Disney Springs. Now, I was there a couple years ago when it was under construction. I was down there for a national meeting, and I went into there's like an Irish pub in there, but there was a lot of construction going on. So Michelle saw it when it was done, but it's just that it makes you feel like you're in Disneyland. Obviously, you're not riding the rides, but you still feel like you're
Oh,
in
it was
Disneyland.
Main Street Disney. That's
Yeah.
where you're at, Main Street Disney all day long.
I still have said, and I still believe that if they did not have downtown Disney at Disneyland, or now the Springs part at Disney World, keep Main Street open for just people that want to go in there do shopping and leave. You don't have to do that, but I don't
They
know.
used to do that.
Well, I know they used to do that. They used to let you kind of get in at a really, really cheap rate, and then you do the the A attraction, B attraction, all these attractions. Speaking of Disney parks, we were discussing this very, very briefly before the show, but Disney announced today that they are going to be changing the admission prices for their U.S. theme parks. Yeah,
Hooray.
yeah, raising
Yeah,
the,
like we don't have to take out a
Every
loan and
year.
donate blood.
well,
I know.
it's yeah.
Like I gotta find another client. now.
Everybody sign up for plasma donation to pay for Disneyland.
that's how it all works. But
It's getting to that point, isn't it?
well, that's kind of what it is. So
It is.
here's the story from Reuters. Walt Disney Company said on Sunday that it was changing the admission price for their U.S. theme parks, raising the cost of some single-day tickets to go up by almost 9%. Disney, which has a three-tier structure that charges visitors more during peak period times to help spread out crowds, said peak one-day tickets for a single theme park at Disneyland will see the biggest increase from $124 to $135. Value and regular one-day tickets are now $97 and $117 respectively, compared to $97 and $110 last year. So basically, right off the bat, if you're looking for a better value, you're better off just getting the individual one-day tickets, not a park hopper, from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
One-day prices to the Magic
Now, do you
Kingdom.
remember when we could take the whole family for $900, including hotel?
Yep.
That was
Gosh.
2 kids, 2 adults, and a 3-day park hopper pass plus 4 days of hotels.
One-day
no, I
prices.
$90.
Well, here's the rest of it. One-day prices to Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World rose 2% from 2% to 4%, which tickets there now range from $109 to $129. The company did say it was planning to make changes, significant ones, to the annual pass program, as well make its multiple day tickets to Walt Disney World date specific. So you can't just buy a ticket in advance. You have to now buy a ticket for a specific date, and that actually happens with Knott's Berry Farm. Just announced they're going to be doing that. Universal Studios has that policy. Dinner show packages, like if you ever go to Medieval Times, they're now doing that too. You have to go on this specific date. So Disney really is making sure that they have attendance. They want, obviously the money. I mean, we're not going to lie, but they also want to make sure that people are showing up at the parks.
It's always a hard balance between trying to pay, because Disney does have flat out the best customer service, the best immersion. I've been to all sorts of parks all over this country, and nobody does it like they do it. But that does cost money. And of course, they have to have a profit margin because it is a for-profit business with shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it's always difficult. How do you balance the needs of your customers with the needs of the company? And I have been there when it has sold out and it's been crazy. And I do avoid those days at all possibility. But I just, if I wasn't able to buy the annual passes, I don't know how I would go, because that gives me the flexibility I need with me and my husband and my son. And this January, we took our nephew. So it gave me a flexibility I wouldn't have had if I had to pick exact dates in advance.
See, and I think when you look at it, I mean, Disney's basically, they're not coming out and saying it, but the rest of the article said they want to do it to manage crowds, particularly as it prepares to open the new Star Wars attraction next year, which, by the way, that is now becoming more and more confirmed. 2019 Star Wars Land is expected to open at Disneyland at Disney
And
World.
you can bet that they will raise the prices again right before that opens.
Oh, you bet they
Yes,
are.
they will.
You bet they are. So let me ask you this.
The only thing that
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
the only thing that it bothers me is because a lot of us we got our initial introduction to Disneyland and Disney World through the TV, but also our first time being able to go. I as a parent who at one point struggled to make ends meet, but wanted to be able to give my kids that experience. I feel like it's so much harder for families now to be able to afford that, to be able to have the kind of experience and to build that relationship with Disney that they would otherwise have if it were just a little bit more affordable for them to do it.
I am on the
agree.
very
Absolutely.
unpopular train of they need to get rid of the Southern California payment plans. I think that would help tremendously, because a lot of the crowd problems are because so many locals can afford it so easily. I'm not saying I don't want Southern Californians to be able to go to Disneyland. I just think they shouldn't have, I don't know, special easier ways to go versus
Exactly.
if I have a pass, I can only go maybe if I'm really, really lucky 3 times in a year. So max, absolute max, 15 days out of an entire year when they can go weekly if they want. So I'm paying more to get
Right.
less.
Exactly.
I know people that live in Southern California that have the passes, and sometimes they go just for a couple of hours after work. They'll stop there on their way home,
Yes.
have dinner, go to ride a few rides, and then go home.
And I actually would
And
be one of those people that would do that. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
would
I would be one of
too.
those
I
people.
would too.
Yeah,
I
I
would
would
totally.
We have
do it.
dinner reservations at Blue Bayou
You know,
at 6:30.
I don't know of a lot of know a lot of attractions in general though that just do that locals kind of thing. Like when you look at even just local, like here, local, our smallest attraction being the water park or anything. We don't have a locals only price versus a price for everybody else.
No, we
We
don't.
have the same price for everybody.
Well, and
I agree with Terry. I think that it should be, easier, accessible for everybody, at least, the same opportunities. And they would cut down on crowd if everybody were on the same playing level.
And if you really, really, really wanted to do it, the worst that would happen was you'd have to wait a year and you would have to set aside whatever payment plan you were on, plus a little bit, because we all know they raise prices every year, and then buy it outright the next year. So you'd
Mhm.
only, a worst case scenario, if you're saying that's the only way you can afford to take your family, you just skip a year and save for the next year.
It's just crazy
Yeah.
when you
We
look
used
at what
to do it on
the
tax refunds, and even now with our refund, I don't think we do it.
it's just crazy when you look at what the monthly prices are for the California residents that do this. If they have the most expensive pass, the one that has no blackout days, they're paying like $89 a month or something like that.
oh, I'm
So
pulling it all up right now.
if
Hang
you
on.
if you only go even one day a month, you're making your money back because it's cheaper than a one-day
Yes.
ticket.
Now-
And so
Now, to answer your
Why
question, let
wouldn't
me
you do
let me
that?
say this. Now, to answer your question, the Disneyland did do something that I didn't get a lot of traction, or at least not traction. Shouldn't say that, but a lot of news on it. It was the late night thing that they did this year.
I know.
but
and I
date
still
night-
wanted to do
Date
that.
night at
That
Disneyland.
they're focusing that on a lot of Southern Californians because there's nothing really advertised here. But apparently, when I was asking my my mom about this, she's like, "Yeah, they were advertising this Disney after dark. They're advertising it in Southern California like it's a Southern California event."
Yes. But you
It's
still have to pay
expensive.
extra. Even if you have a ticket for the day,
Right.
you still have to pay extra. It's just like the
Yeah,
Halloween
just like the
party
parties.
or the other events. You not only have to have your pass for the day, but you then also have to pay for that evening.
And see, that's another thing that also drives me crazy is some people, like what you're saying before, they have to save up for
Yes.
a long time to go. And sometimes they book really far in advance. And then all of a sudden here comes their vacation and they find out that, oh, the park closes early 2 nights of your trip because of this special event. Oh, too bad, sorry.
Well, and that's why,
Yeah.
because we had that a few years ago. If you remember that, Michelle, when we were down there for Halloween. So we had to make an adjustment on our value day because you have those park hopper or just the one day where you have to go into the one park. So we're like, okay, well, if Disneyland closes at 6, we're just going to head over to California Adventure. The only problem with
Right.
that is that California Adventure was packed and it was insane. I've never seen California Adventure be that busy ever at like 10 p.m. at night.
Crazy busy.
Yeah.
It was fun though. I mean, I did enjoy it, but it was definitely like it was the crowdest I've ever seen it.
So here's the new structure. Disneyland only has 3, and this is non-Southern California. I don't have access to Southern California pricing, but this is non-Southern California. The Disney Deluxe. There's no such thing as the value passports. The Disney Deluxe starts at $729 for ages 3 and up. You only get 10% off select dining, 10% off select merchandise. You do get to visit both parks, but tons of blackout dates. I mean, there are a ton of blackout dates.
Well, that's actually the one that we've had for 4 years.
Uh-huh.
And I renewed it last week, thank God.
Yeah.
And
how much?
because we
much
actually
was it?
only we paid $560 a person last week.
So it went up
Because I did it Well, the
$140.
actual price,
Yeah.
because I got the discount for renewing before my end date, so I paid $60 less a person by renewing it last week, and then it went up from that because it was $619, and I think it's now $729.
Yeah, $729 is the Disney Deluxe Passport. I'm pulling up the
Yes.
black out
Now
I
dates.
think
we
it's
don't
called
know.
platinum.
No, yeah, the platinum is the next higher up one.
They
That
actually
has no.
they changed that. Hold on. Because according
yeah,
to
that's
Disney,
right.
it's not there's no platinum anymore. They changed it. And I had it up.
Is that the
and-
premium one?
Okay, here we go.
The next higher one?
Yeah, so there's the deluxe. Come on.
The
And to
Okay,
be
premium
honest-
one
okay,
that
so
you can go
Disney
both
Deluxe.
coasts.
Okay, so the next one is Disney Signature. Now this one is the same thing. You can visit both parks. You do get 15% off dining and merchandise. But here's the big catch, though. You do get theme park parking included.
Yes.
So you're basically going to have to pay $180 more or $280 more to get the free parking out of it.
Which they raised that up to $25 a day, isn't it? I mean, I remember when it was like
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised if it goes to
5
25.
10. Well, I remember when it was free for us the first time we went.
Right. Now, the top one is the Disney Signature Plus. This is admission to both parks. You do get both parks on the same day. You do get 15% off your dining, 20% off merchandise. You do get the theme park parking, but the big catch on this one is that it does not look like they have blackout dates on this one. There are no they do not
I have a
blackouts.
sister who has one.
And you do get the Disney Max Pass feature, which basically is I believe a photo pass, correct?
It's a photo pass, and you can make your fast passes online.
Okay, so you can
On
get
the
fast
app.
passes. Okay, so basically it's app driven is what they're trying to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the deluxe passport. Now, we don't go on weekends. We don't go on 3-day weeks. I went once because my son's birthday is December 30th. I went once during the Christmas to New Year's. I won't do that again unless I'm drinking heavily. That was
agree with you on that
insane.
one.
Did it? No, I'm fine. And so for us, that works fine because we do go at atypical times, like second week of January, the last week in May before things get crazy. We go weird times on purpose. Of course, I also use a wheelchair, and sometimes that becomes very necessary because crowds and wheelchairs don't always mix.
Yeah, I used to have the
Especially down
deluxe
there.
pass back in 2005 to 2009, and then I stopped because I had to taper off because it just was getting so expensive.
Sometimes the addiction is just way too much.
Yeah,
I've only
exactly.
had
But the
I've
very
only had
first,
a pass twice, and once was with blackout dates, and once was without.
yeah, I did the same thing. I switched between the two, but I was just remembering the very first time I bought the deluxe pass, it was $189.
Oh, good lord!
Wow.
And then the next year it was like $230,
Yeah.
and the premium, which had no blackout days, was like $100 more. And so one time I bought that, I think it was like $370 or something.
So one thing I
But, I
noticed
mean,
on this
That was only about 10 years ago.
one thing I just
and-
noticed
Yeah,
on this deluxe passport, it looks like they have the next blackout date is not till March 17th, and it's really basically
Yes.
it's all Saturdays. March 25th and 30th looks like it's probably the start of spring break down in Southern California, but they've got blackout dates on those. But everything else, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of availability, at least for that part of it.
Yes. We only
you-
had one problem, and that was because we were going the week before Christmas, and we had to plan our trip so that we just went to downtown Disney on Saturday because starting then our pass was no longer good.
Right. Yeah, and then if you go through June, July, it's only available. The blackout is only on Saturdays. So I mean, based on this, it looks like for the most part, the annual passport deluxe one looks like they've got a lot of availability. Thanksgiving is blocked, obviously, and then pretty much maybe just looks like just 12 days out of December are available. The rest are not.
It was the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, the first couple weeks of December look like
That's when we like to go anyway. So
right.
Yeah,
I
the
mean-
deluxe was perfect for me because, like Vicky was saying, I don't usually go on Saturdays, and especially not in the summertime or on major holidays, because it's just insane.
Right.
So
Yeah.
why
So
would you
I
go
mean,
then?
well, and I think I think this is definitely going to be
But then
good
how is
for.
that going to affect the crowds now that they've changed some of the blackout dates? I mean, that the crowds seem to be bigger on days where there aren't blackout dates. It's always seemed to be.
But
For the, like,
Yeah,
would
Yeah,
really
but
have
that's how
to
you
be
know how many Southern
carefully.
Californians have the passes is when there's not a blackout date, all of a sudden everything is packed and you're like, oh, you're all from
Yes.
Southern California.
yes.
I bet you anything, a lot of those
Yeah.
people down in SoCal, they look at blackout dates and they look at that stuff very religiously, because if there's no blackout date, they're going.
Yeah. And
I think you're probably right.
so that's going to affect the crowds.
Well,
which-
I mean, like if you're looking at this passport blackout date, I mean, they have December pretty much blocked off the last 2 weeks of the year. The entire month of October is wide open. Thanksgiving weekend looks like it's unavailable because of that. But I mean, they have some blackout, but there's really not a lot of blackout dates. There's really not many. So I mean, you get the
And it
crowd
really helps
control.
if you either have kids on an unconventional schedule or you're all adults and you can kind of go when you want to. Boy, I was so happy when my kid became an adult because, suddenly I have flexibility.
Right.
My family, my younger two siblings were homeschooled, same thing.
Yeah. It just, and I think the biggest trick about going to any Disney park is plan, and be flexible, because too many things happen and change. It's kind of like when the Disney races suddenly disappeared from Anaheim, and I was all prepared for the Martin Luther King weekend when we always had the Star Wars races for a couple of years, and then it's like, oh, we're not going to have it, and the price suddenly dropped, which was actually really nice. But it just plan and flexibility.
I wish I can plan to go down there when it's raining, because I know there will be like nobody there.
Yeah.
I had that
Like the
experience.
best.
Yeah.
Huh?
I had that experience back in 2009. Went the first weekend in February. It rained the whole time. I was there for 5 days. Never had to get a fast pass. They never even had the fast pass machines operating.
Yep.
And imagine this. Imagine going on Pirates of the Caribbean and having a whole boat to yourself with no one in the boat in front of you and no one in the boat behind you. That kind of dead it used to be. It was then.
We've done that. We did
And then
that
also-
where we
Imagine Fantasmic going on and they don't even set up all the ropes and everything because there's not enough people to police.
Yeah, we were actually there the second week of January this year, and we actually were doing, because I was taking my nephew for the first time since he was 3, and he's now 14, and so we were going to do everything. And we go to do our Hungry Bear Fantasmic package, and they're like, oh, well, you're the only one that showed up because everyone else assumed it was canceled because it was pouring. And we love it when it's pouring because everyone else leaves, and we're like, no problem.
yeah, you get
Only
your
mistake I've
poncho
made
and
on a raining day, I was wearing as a teenager, I think I was like 14. It was raining hard enough that, you should probably wear ponchos. I had pants long enough that they were touching the ground. So I
no.
had water all the way up to my knees. It wasn't super comfortable, and my pants look like they're two-tone in pictures. But the park was empty.
Yes.
But
That's all that matters.
seems
right?
like poor planning anyway, unless you don't do Splash Mountain, which I mean,
Oh, on
If
those
it's,
days.
if it's rain
on
outside,
those
just be called
days,
Mountain.
It doesn't matter.
Just be
Yeah.
called Mountain.
But I mean, you should have known you were going to go Splash Mountain and get wet anyway.
Yeah.
That was a parental decision. We need to talk to your parents about that one, because they'd be like, you're getting wet, so just take those jeans off right now.
And
Put on some shorts.
jeans wet, your shoes get wet, everything. You might want to put things in like a clear bag so it doesn't get wet or anything like that on. So
We have a waterproof
Yeah.
backpack.
yes.
Oh,
do.
we have Ziploc baggies for all electronics and
yeah, me too.
ponchos. But my family's all heavy, so we need ponchos on water rides anyway,
Mhm.
or else we get soaked.
That's
Well,
the best part.
This is definitely something that, as we go on the DisneyVerse podcast down into the future, this is definitely lots of things we will be talking about. One of many little things we'll be talking about: Disney parks, Disney entertainment. In fact, next week on the program, I know we're going to be out with Michelle and Patricia, but we are going to have our Oscars show where we are going to be having the impact on Disney movies with the Oscars. Quick, did Snow White win an Academy Award?
What a special
Yes,
one.
it won a special one.
It did, but it didn't win an Academy Award. So Disney has a huge impact on the Academy Awards, and we're going to talk about that next Sunday on the DisneyVerse podcast. Girls, it was fun. Wasn't this a blast? Didn't we have fun?
This was great.
Yes.
Wasn't this the best
Yes.
podcast we've recorded all day? I mean, wasn't this great?
You set low bars.
I can't comment on that. Otherwise, my other show might get
Yes.
mad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not just your other show, maybe your other half. So
yeah, I didn't hear any there. So he must be out and about or something right now.
Oh yeah, he's in the other part of the house.
Oh, he's just hiding. Okay. Hey, tell him quick. There's
he's
a
letting
Doctor.
her do her thing.
Yeah, there you go. Tell him quick. There's Doctor Who. Anyway, just kidding. He's walking down the street of this. He's walking out of this TARDIS. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Next week we will have Vicky and Terry. Looks like they'll be on the show. Rain, are you going to join us as well? Maybe.
More than likely, yes.
More than likely. All right. So next week we are going to have our opportunity to look at the Oscars, particularly on the Disney side, how Disney movies affected with the Oscars. We want to thank everyone for joining us here today. Again, Patricia, Terry, Vicky, Rain, and Michelle, thank you again for joining us. Don't forget, folks, if you do want to contact the show in any way, shape, or form, you can hit us up via the social media methods. Again, facebook.com/Disneyverse is the way to contact us via Facebook. Twitter. We just got our Twitter account just launched earlier today. Thank you, Ms. Vicky. It is DisneyVerse Pod is the best way to contact us via Twitter. And if you have any email suggestions, if you want to suggest a show idea, or if you want to be a guest on the show to talk about something, if you're adamant about Disney like we are, we'd love to have you on the show. So send us an email. We'll get you going. DisneyVersePodcast@gmail.com is the email address to the program. Thanks so much, folks. We are going to be back next Sunday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. In the meantime, take care of one another. Thank you again. And always remember,